Hey guys, what is up and welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So the next patch is hitting the live servers in just a few days, so let's take a look at the biggest changes coming to that patch, buffs, nerfs, and a bunch of other things as well. So as usual, if you guys end up enjoying this video, then do not forget to hit that like button to let me know, but let's not waste any more time and jump right into it. So starting things off is actually going to be something a little bit different. Now there is some kind of new teaser just recently released. Now I want to go over it very quickly for now. You can see the image on your screen right now. You can see it looks like some kind of blue sword in the shape of a lion's face at the top. And on the side it looks to be like two wolves with, red kind of flame or something like that coming out of their mouths. Now unfortunately I'm not actually 100% sure as to what this teaser is for. I mean, maybe it's for the Aatrox rework that's, coming up relatively soon, I'm assuming. Maybe it's for some kind of new skin. Maybe for, for two different champions in a versus kind of skin, kind of what we have with Riven and Yasuo. I'm not entirely sure what it's for because we don't have a whole lot of information just yet, but I'm thinking once the PvE server updates in just a few days, we'll have a better idea. But let me know down below in the comment section what you believe this teaser is for. Do you think it's for a new champion, a new rework, maybe some new skins? Let me know. Also, next, very quickly, I wanted to talk about what seems to be a new cursor. Now, the current League of Legends cursor has been around for literally years and years, but Riot has thought, you know what, it's time to update this old cursor into something a little bit more fresh. You can see a quick simple image here comparing the old one versus the new one, of course the old cursor being on the right while the new cursor is on the left. Now, as far as I know, I believe this is coming out in the next patch, and I also believe that there is going to be an option where you can disable the new cursor and go back to the old one if you so wish, but in a couple of patches, as people have slowly become more and more used to the new cursor, I believe they are taking away the option to revert back to the old cursor, so it is something you might want to start getting used to sooner than later. But now let's actually talk about the changes coming over to champions themselves, the first of which being a quick buff coming over to Elise. The base movement speed in human and spider form have both been increased ever so slightly, which in my opinion is more of a buff than it actually sounds. But then also her volatile spiraling, which is her human W where she sends that spider forward, the damage on this ability has also been increased by 5 at rank 1 and a total of an extra 25 extra damage by rank 5. So all in all, obviously not the biggest buffs in the world, but Elise is also a volatile champion to where if you overbuff her, I mean, considering she is a very aggressive early AP jungler, she will completely destroy every other jungler in the current meta. So all in all, some pretty good safe buffs. Next up, we have a quick nerf coming over to Ezreal where his base armor has been lowered from 25 to 22. I mean, that's gonna obviously hurt his laning phase a lot, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's not really that big of a nerf, and Ezreal should still for the most part be what he is at the moment regardless. Next up, we also have a nerf coming over to Janna's shield, where the shield duration has been changed from 5 seconds to now decaying over 5 seconds instead. And you will notice throughout this video, boys and girls, that all supports revolving around shielding have been nerfed. All those kind of safe, chilling in the back supports are getting a nerf, whether it's a direct nerf to the champion or for the items that they use. Speaking of which, the next thing we'll talk about is going to be a quick nerf coming over to Karma as well, where the shield duration on her E ability has been lowered from 4 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Again, all of these shield supports and just champions in general are just getting the nerf hammer. It seems like Riot is definitely trying to change up the meta down in the bot lane. Next up, we also have a quick buff coming over to Kindred. Now, this champion hasn't really been too strong for a very long time, has always been around the middle at best. And maybe these buffs will change that. Now, the first thing is, of course, the attack speed growth being increased from 2.5 to 3.5, which is a fairly decent increase. Then we have the Q ability, Dance of Arrows. The bonus attack speed has been increased from 10% to 25%, which also is actually quite a lot. And then we also have Mounting Dread, the E ability, where the damage on this has also been increased by 15 at every single rank. So all in all, it seems that Kindred's early game has been ever so slightly buffed, of course, with the extra damage on the E ability, but the main buffs seem to be focused a little bit around just actually kind of scaling a little bit into the mid game and then especially into the late game, since not only has the attack speed growth have been increased by a decent amount, but you get a lot more attack speed from your Q ability, which of course, attack speed being a multiplicative stat, works a lot better once you actually have items to work off of it. So again, mid to late game. Next up, we have a quick buff coming over to Lee Sin, where his W Safeguard, the cooldown has been lowered from 14 at all ranks to 12 at all ranks, so just a flat 2-second decrease, and his E ability, Tempest, the damage has also been increased on this ability by 10 at rank 1 and all the way up to 30 by rank 5. So this will definitely make Lee Sin's keep their W at level 1 and level it up as the final ability, and most likely level up their Q and then E, or maybe even vice versa, max their E first followed by Q. Following this, once again, we have another nerf coming over to Lulu, where her E-ability's shield duration has been lowered from 6 seconds all the way down to 2.5 seconds. So you have to use this ability correctly now and at the right times, and you can't just throw it on early and have it last for so long and still probably absorb the damage. It's a much more of a skill-based ability. But moving on as well, we also have another nerf coming over to Orianna, yet another kind of supporty champion that also has a shield ability. Her E-ability's shield duration has also been lowered from 4 seconds all the way down to 2.5 seconds, so a little bit less of a decrease, but it seems like it's gonna be a theme to have these shields being down to around 2.5 seconds, so that when you use them, you better use them at the right situation and at the right time. But moving along, I want to talk about a buff coming over to Rumble, and a pretty decent one at that. Starting off with his W ability, Scrap Shield. The AP ratio has been increased by 10%, and the shield strength overall has just been increased by 20 at every single rank. And then moving on to his ultimate, which I already think his ultimate is one of the best ultimates in the entire game, of course, if you actually landed correctly. The AP ratio being increased by 5%, and the base damage per second has been increased by 10 at rank 1 and all the way up by an extra 40 by rank 3. All in all, this is definitely some pretty solid buffs towards Rumble, and I won't be surprised if we start seeing Rumble much more frequently, whether it's mid lane, whether it's top lane, and I definitely would not mind having Rumble in the top lane on my team, because then it means I can play Zed or Talon without worrying about full AD comps. But speaking of champions that are now much stronger in terms of AP ratios and just AP in general, we have some buffs coming over to Sejuani. Starting off with her passive, the max damage against monsters has actually been lowered. However, as we go on to her W, not only has the mana cost been lowered to 65 at all ranks from 80, but you can see now has new AP ratios. Now adds 20% AP ratio on the flail swing, which is the very first swing she does in front of her and kind of like a cone, and then adds 60% AP ratio on the flail lash that she kind of just throws in front of her in a straight line. But it of course does not end there just yet, because as we move on to her E ability, you can see here the AP ratio has been doubled. It is now 60% rather than 30%, and as if that wasn't enough, the actual base damage in this ability has also been increased by 10 at rank 1 and a total of an extra 30 damage by rank 5. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing this sort of semi-tank, but you know, a little bit AP heavy Sejuani in the jungle, maybe even in other lanes as well, because the AP ratios on this champion are no longer a joke. Next up, some very quick changes coming over to Talia, to where her Q ability states, subsequent hits on the same champion reduced damage increased from 40% for rocks beyond the first hit to now 50% for rocks beyond the first hit. Keep in mind, this is only to champions. This is not affecting Talia jungle whatsoever, which is really what people are playing now anyways. No one really plays her mid lane as much anymore. Everyone brings her out into the jungle, where she honestly is just substantially stronger, and it honestly is just a really cool breath of fresh air seeing Talia jungle, because it just adds AP junglers into the mix, which is always a good thing, adds variety, and is also just kind of interesting without being too completely overpowered. Now next, we have to talk about the 2 new items coming to League of Legends, most likely this patch. I mean, I'm assuming it's this patch in just a couple of days. Atma's Reckoning being the first one, which for 2,900 gold gives you 25 AD, 30 armor, 30 MR, and a passive that's a unique effect that states the following. For each second in combat with enemy champions, turrets, or epic monsters, gain AD equal to 0.5% of your maximum HP up to 2.5%. In other words, the tankier you are and the more HP that you have, the more damage this item will offer. So if you're playing maybe someone like Mundo, well, Atma's Reckoning on Mundo sounds like the perfect buy. This will actually be probably even actually overpowered on Mundo and many other champions as well, maybe like Sion, or champions that just like to stack a lot of HP. But on top of this, even champions that can stack HP that are bruisers, so maybe someone like a Darius or someone similar, will also benefit off of this item by quite a bit. But of course, we also have the other new item, which is sort of the opposite of what Atma's is, and it's called Spear of Shojin. For 2,900 gold, you get 60 AD, 200 health, 10% CDR, a unique passive that states the following: reduce damage from champion attacks and abilities by 20 flat, plus 10% of bonus attack damage, maximum being 70, and another unique passive that states when you are near at least 3 enemy champions and you attack, you gain Dragonheart, which essentially blocks for 200% more damage for 6 seconds. Like I said, kind of the opposite of what Atma's offers. For this one, if you're already building a lot of AD, you can get the Spear of Shojin to not only give you more AD and just kind of extra stats as well, like HP and CDR, but it'll also kind of make you just more tanky on the side, just based off of the unique passive that this item offers. I said this before and I'll say it again, I don't like these kind of items. I don't like items that reward you for going tanky by giving you a bunch of extra AD, and vice versa. Items that reward you for going just full damage by giving you a bunch of tanky stats as well. Personally, I don't think these items are healthy for League of Legends, but I mean, I'm also going to be very curious to see which champions can abuse the hell out of these items, because personally, I mean, I might start running Spear of Shojin on someone like Zed or Talon. Next up, you're gonna see for Ardent Sensor, Mikhail's, and Redemption. All of these items have gotten a nerf. So for instance, for Ardent Sensor, the heal and shield power has been lowered from 10% all the way down to now being only at 8%. Mikhail's Crucible, the heal and shield power has been lowered from 20% all the way now down to 15%. And then of course, Redemption also being lowered from 10% to 8% on the heal and the shield power. So on top of the shield supports already getting nerfed directly, these indirect nerfs to the items that those champions love to buy have also been nerfed. Next, very quickly, I also want to say that, and this is a pretty big change, Banner of Command has been completely removed and most likely removed for the rest of the season. Riot has just decided, you know what, this item is just way too random, way too hard to balance, and honestly, it doesn't really have a great place in League of Legends at the moment, so they just completely removed it until pre-season of next season, where hopefully they will find a better way to implement this item without it being so just kind of stupid and intrusive. Following this, a mini rework coming over to Sterig's Gauge, where no longer will it give you plus 50% of base attack damage. Instead, now it has a new unique passive effect called Giant Strength that states gain 50% of your base attack damage as bonus attack damage. So for abilities and items that scale off of bonus attack damage, this will definitely be a pretty big plus. But on the flip side, I believe this will be also a nerf to the synergy between this item and Trinity Force. We also have some quick changes coming over to the runes, for instance the Halo Blades being the Domination Keystone, the new one that just came out, where the attack speed has been increased to now start at 75 and go up to 125% rather than only starting at 50 and only going up to 100%, which I actually think is pretty good because there are already a handful of champions, in my opinion, that can abuse this keystone quite successfully. But then we also have some changes coming over to Celerity, where it offers less movement speed, but it now gives you more adaptive AD or AP based on, of course, how much movement speed you already have. All in all, it is a nerf, but champions that not only have a lot of movement speed as it is, but champions that also like to build movement speed type items and just move very quickly, the first thing that comes to my mind is Talon, this is going to be most likely a buff. And of course, last but not least, we also have the new skins coming out for Lee Sin and Aramis, of course, kind of celebrating the whole World Cup happening in just a few weeks, or about a week or so now. And of course, we also have a new skin coming out for Mr. Cho'Gath himself. And my goodness, this Dark Star Cho'Gath looked pretty damn sexy. But that right there, guys, is going to be it for this video. There you have it, a bunch of changes, a new teaser, new skins, Banner of Command being removed, support champions that revolve around shielding and all that stuff are also being nerfed, and just a bunch of other changes as well. Let me know what you think about these changes down below in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button to show your support. Share this video with your friends so everyone else knows what's coming to League of Legends, because there are quite a bit of changes. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.